They banned his music. They beat him 100 times. They locked his brother in an asylum until he died. But when Fred Locks unleashed Black Starliner, Jamaica couldn't silence him anymore. This is the untold story of reggae's most dangerous rebel, the man who predicted Rastafari's rise before it almost got him eliminated. Wait until you hear what happened at Studio One. Stafford Elliott entered the world on June 7, 1950, in Kingston, Jamaica, in the heart of Franklin Town, cradled within the walls of a strict Catholic household where conformity reigned supreme. The shadows of discipline loomed large, leaving no room for the rebellious spirit that silently festered within young Stafford. Music, however, was the lifeblood that ran through the veins of the Elliott family, his father and elder brother strumming melodies into existence, teaching themselves the ancient art of guitar. It was an inheritance that Stafford could not refuse. By the tender age of 14, he had penned his first song, his voice carving through the air while his brother wove a delicate thread of chords beneath it. When the Elliott family relocated to eastern Kingston near Bull Bay, Stafford's world expanded. The rough streets and the salt-tinged air of the coast sharpened his resolve. At Seymour Junior Secondary School, he found comrades in harmony, forming the group Flames. Together, they sang their hearts out in talent competitions, innocent yet fierce in their ambition. After school, Stafford donned the cloak of a haberdasher at 16, selling fabrics by day, weaving dreams by night. During these hours, a new vision emerged. The Lyrics, a group formed with kindred souls. Unlike the youthful aspirations of Flames, the Lyrics were determined, polished, and soon they found themselves in the recording booths of Jamaica's finest. In the haze of the 1960s rocksteady blast, they caught the attention of the elusive Lee Scratch Perry and the famed Vincent and Patricia Chin of Randy's Records. But it was Studio One, under the gaze of the mighty Coxsone Dodd, that first pressed their music onto wax. Their track, I Get It, was a momentary beacon of hope. Yet the industry that had promised them stardom was a serpent in disguise. When they recorded The Old Man's Sea, featuring Stafford's brother on guitar, they were promised radio play the very next day. But that promise evaporated. Coxsone Dodd betrayed them, handing the rhythm over to Bob Andy, who recorded Desperate Lover atop the stolen beat. The betrayal was unbearable. Stafford's brother, driven to fury, stormed Studio One in a rage, wreaking havoc upon the equipment. The police responded not with negotiation, but with brutality, beating him mercilessly and condemning him to Bellevue Mental Hospital. There, in the sterile corridors of Forgotten Souls, he died under mysterious circumstances, a wound that Stafford would carry forever. Grief hollowed Stafford out, and into that hollow poured the teachings of Rastafari. At 19, he turned his back on the faith of his fathers, choosing instead the path of dreadlocks, Nyabingi drums, and resistance. His Catholic father, seeing this as heresy, cast him out. With nothing but the clothes on his back, Stafford wandered to Harborview's beach, where other Rastafarian brethren eked out a fragile existence. He slept beneath the stars, living rough, and from the ashes of Stafford Elliott arose Fred Locks, a name chosen in reverence to his growing dreadlocks, a symbol of his covenant with Jah. These were treacherous times. It was merely 6 years since the Coral Gardens massacre, and Rastas in Jamaica were hunted like dogs. The police could arrest and brutalize a man for no greater crime than his hairstyle. Fred Locks himself would feel the heavy hand of Babylonian oppression, estimating he was arrested over 100 times. Yet every shackle, every blow, only deepened his resolve. His faith in Rastafari became an unbreakable steel, and his voice, once tender, now roared with the power of a lion. In these moments of struggle, inspiration struck. On the sands of Harborview, Fred Locks often reasoned with brethren, among them Owen Good, a fellow disciple of Rastafari. It was Owen who urged him to channel the wisdom of Marcus Garvey into song. Fred Locks remembered Garvey's vision, the repatriation of the African diaspora, the return to Zion aboard the Black Star Line ships. In that vision, he saw hope for his people. He imagined 7 miles of Black Star liners sailing into Kingston's harbor, ready to ferry the faithful back to the promised land. That vision became melody, and melody became prophecy as Fred Locks forged the anthem that would define him. He toiled over the song for years, refining it like a sacred chant. Sometimes he played at football matches with friends, bringing along his worn guitar. One day in 1974, at such a gathering, he shared Black Starliner in an impromptu jam session, backed only by a makeshift drum fashioned from a paint can. Unbeknownst to him, someone recorded the performance on a rudimentary tape recorder. That recording found its way to Hugh Booth, a member of the influential 12 tribes of Israel Rasta family. Booth, electrified by the raw power of the song and the purity of its message, sought out Fred Locks. Though disillusioned with the treacheries of the music industry, Fred Locks agreed to Booth's proposition to record the song properly. Booth, though inexperienced in music production, had access to Jamaica's finest musicians through his 12 tribes connections. Legends like Earl Chinna Smith, Howard Roberts, Baga Walker, and Jah Jerry of the Scatolites answered the call. Together, they stepped into the studio, breathing life into Fred Locks' vision. Watching them was Tommy Cowan, a seasoned promoter and producer who immediately sensed the song's monumental potential. He convinced Fred Locks to allow Talent Corporation to distribute the track. When Black Starliner hit the streets in 1975, it exploded like righteous thunder. In Jamaica alone, it sold 14,000 copies, a staggering number for the time. For the first time, Fred Locks saw the fruits of his labor, not stolen, but flowing into his hands. The song's message resonated beyond the island's shores, and soon it crossed the Atlantic, becoming an anthem in the United Kingdom's burgeoning reggae scene. The momentum propelled Fred Locks to release his debut album, Black Starliners Through the Ages to the Rastaman, under the UK label Vulcan Records, a searing collection of Rastafarian hymns, potent with the raw fire of Fred Locks' voice and the earth-shaking weight of truth. Yet Fred Locks was never meant for the trappings of commercial fame. He remained a devoted member of the vocal trio Creation Steppers, working on group projects even as his solo star ascended. Despite the adulation from roots reggae purists worldwide, he eschewed the spotlight, his loyalty tied not to Babylon's gold but to Jah's commandments. In 1979, he married an American woman and began dividing his life between Jamaica's dust and America's promises. By 1982, after releasing his final album with Creation Steppers, he faded from public life, retreating to Philadelphia, where he immersed himself in the local 12 tribes of Israel community. For nearly a decade and a half, Fred Locks lived in quiet devotion, surfacing only for rare performances, a ghost of the roaring lion he once was. But the fire within him never extinguished. In 1996, he returned to Jamaica, and by 1998, he resurfaced on the musical front under Philip Fadus Burrell's Exterminator Records. Never Give Up was his testament to endurance, a battle cry in a time when the Rastafarian Renaissance, led by the likes of Sizzla, Kalonji, and Luciano, was rekindling the flames of roots reggae. Though overshadowed by the younger warriors, Fred Locks' contributions were no less vital. He was the elder statesman, the silent guardian of a tradition many had forgotten. Through the years, Fred Locks has remained remarkably consistent, crafting albums that reverberate with the same authenticity that birthed Black Starliner. His 2022 release, Born Rasta, stands as a defiant reminder of who he is and what he stands for. Even now, in the twilight of his years, Fred Locks embodies the essence of the true Rastafarian artist, a man whose music is not a commodity, but a sacrament. He stands apart from the fleeting fame and hollow applause that seduced so many of his contemporaries. Fred Locks, the man once cast out by his own father, the man beaten by police, broken by betrayal, and battered by life, rose time and again on the wings of Rastafari. He is not a relic, but a living monument to resilience, integrity, and faith. In a world that forgets its prophets and discards its seers, Fred Locks remains. A lion who has never forgotten his roar, a dread who never sheared his locks, a messenger who never abandoned his message. And so the legend of Fred Locks endures, as timeless as the Black Starliners he sang into existence. 7 miles of ships coming into harbor. 7 miles of dreams that refused to die. What part of Fred Locks' journey resonated most with you? Do you think music still holds the same power to inspire resistance and faith today? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your perspective. And if you want more stories about the legends who shaped music with their courage and conviction, make sure to subscribe. More powerful histories are on the way.